Hello my lovelies, and welcome to my channel Sew Fabricate. My name is Shirley. I hope today finds you well and that the sun is shining wherever you are. The reason for today's vlog is to do with hashtag Frugal Frocks 2021. It's a sewing challenge that was set up by Ruan from Yorkshire Sew Girl and Sam from Frugalissima. The idea behind the challenge is to make a dress, that sort of frock is. I still call them frocks. I used to get teased by my old team when I was still working because I was the team mum and the oldest on my team. So I used to get teased an awful lot about some of the old-fashioned terms that I used to use, and frock is still one of them. I know that Americans don't use that term, but certainly it's an old English term, still used by some, myself included. Anyway, challenge is to make a dress, and the clue is in the title, Frugal Frocks. So that's making the dress as affordably as possible. So, starting off, no payment must be made for any patterns. The patterns must come from either magazines that you've received free from magazines or that you've downloaded from the internet for free. It can also mean it can have been a pattern that's been gifted to you by an auntie or a grandma who's had sort of had a de-stash, or even a friend or relative, any relative, as long as that pattern is free to you. Technically, patterns from books do not count, as you have bought the book for the pattern. I buy magazines for the information, not the patterns. I know some people buy the magazines for the patterns, but I predominantly buy my magazines for the information within, and the pattern, as far as I'm concerned, is a Billy bonus. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that the fabric must come from your stash. You mustn't buy the fabric especially. Now, you've already bought and paid for that stash, but it's a fabric, but it's a very good way of actually discovering your stash again. Now and again I have a tidy up of my stash, or when it's something like this, I'll go through all my boxes. And the really nice thing is that you discover either whole pieces of fabric, you know, your 2 and your 3 meters that you've totally forgotten about, or if you're anything like me, I've got a couple of these which are absolutely jam-packed with various fabrics. There's linens, there's cotton voiles, chambray, and some of them are as small as about 1/2 metre. Other pieces can even be 1.5 metres. Why would I have such big excesses? Sometimes I normally buy 3 meters of fabric if I've got a dress in mind. Sometimes if I've got sort of a slightly fuller dress or the fabric's narrow, I'll buy 4 meters. Or sometimes if it's linens and they're on, I mean, not Amazon, eBay, quite often have sellers that sell linens, and good quality linens, mind, for a really good price. So if it's a colour I like or a neutral, I'll buy certainly more than I need, and then it gets stuck in my stash, because I don't know about you, but in the summertime I absolutely adore wearing linen. Anyway, I'm going off on a tangent. So it's fabric from your stash. Now, everyone that has already vlogged for Frugal Frocks 2021 have given you their ideas of what they're going to do, sites that are worth visiting and printing dress patterns from. Sam from Frugalissima, I mean, you have to watch her even if you don't want to do the challenge. On a Friday she releases a video, and she's always finding free patterns. She finds discount vouchers. I don't know how long she spends on the internet searching, but just for this challenge alone, I spent quite a bit of time looking. Now, because it's the 28th, the pattern, no, sorry, the dress has to be posted on Instagram on the 31st of March. You must tag Ruan, Yorkshire Sew Girl, and Sam Frugalissima when you post your picture of your make. So that's the 28th is today, 30th, 31st, so it's 2-3 days. Now, I'm hoping that you've either had some inspiration and already started making, or have made your frock, or you've just discovered even this challenge and you're thinking, I'd like to take part, but I've only got a couple of days. Well, fear not. There is a way around it. And that for me is making something that's fairly simple, doesn't need a lot of fitting, and therefore will be fairly quick to make. But I will start with what I had in mind when the challenge first came about. I wanted to make, I've had this pattern for about a year, I suppose, I can't remember. I subscribe to Simply Sewing magazine, so I get at least 2 patterns a month. Not all of them I like, and some of them for kids, which is good because I've got grandchildren. But there was this pattern that's really, really pretty. And what I liked about it is it's got a little bit of gathering under the bust, and then a slight, it's a shaped band, and then free flowing. It is, as you can see, tiered. I'm not fussed if I tier it or not, and I think it's exposed there, a bit like the Tilly and the Buttons frock. There you go. Love that frock, really, really pretty. In my stash, I have got this gorgeous viscose, which, look at the colours in that, which is ideal for either summer or winter because it's black. You can wear it in the winter with the dark tights and boots, whether that's ankle boots or knee boots. I love wearing both. I do have a boot fetish. And I really want to make this, and thankfully, rooting around my patterns, looking at it again, it's confirmed that I want to make it. But I have the boobies. I do have to make a full bust adjustment. I have quite a small upper bust. My upper bust is 37 and my full bust is 40, so I do have to make a full bust adjustment. And because it needs fitting, I don't really want to sort of get worried and anxious about making this. And it's the same for you. I don't want you getting worried and anxious about trying to make a dress, fitting it, especially if you do have to make adjustments, whether that's small bust, full bust, maybe you have narrow shoulders. But most of us, not all of us, but most of us do have to make some sort of adjustment. And especially if you're using your precious lovely fabric, you don't want to sort of ruin it by rushing it. So I put that on the back burner. So I have decided to make my own dress through cloning rather than self-drafting, because again, that takes time. And when you're on your own, well, I've got my husband, but trying to get him to measure me where I want him to measure me, he just doesn't get my teeth in, doesn't understand the terms. So if it wasn't for lockdown, you know, I'd be around one of my sewing girlfriends and asking her to do the measurements. But again, just let me show you a couple more free patterns that you may have. You may have something like this in your stash already. You may have already found something free to download yourself, and that's the good old t-shirt. Now this is quite, again, free from the magazine. It's a nice t-shirt. It's not quite a boat neck, but it's quite an open neck. It doesn't actually come up, I have made this and it doesn't come up too high. It comes up around here, which is nice. And a full-on boat neck, sometimes they can come too far here. I mean, you can stitch them up, but I don't like bra straps showing. But if you had something like this, you could just whoosh, go all the way down. If you're slim and you can carry it off. If you're either concerned that you've got either wide hips, which isn't my thing, my concern is that my hips, I'm deep, so I've got the tummy and I've got the bottom. So I've got to be careful about something like this because it could look a bit clingy, but you can just ever so slightly A-line it out. And, you know, I mean, a lot of people think, you know, you get past this, if you're bigger than a size 12, you can't wear a t-shirt frock. Nonsense. It's just the way you style it, or just even just by altering the sort of the dimensions at the bottom, you can. And actually having something fairly slim but skimming is more flattering than a great big tent. So that is just that basic idea, and I'm sure somebody along the line has already suggested such things. I know they have, because I've watched all the vlogs, and that's been really nice too, because myself, I've met some new vloggers. Now, another one that came out of the magazine is the same thing. That, if you look, is that t-shirt, except for it's got shorter sleeves. But what they've added, and I think this is really nice, and I want to do this for myself, is they've added a skirt, and I don't know if that's, I haven't got, you can see it's still not been opened. I don't know if it's an A-line skirt or if a slightly circly-ish skirt. But whether you've got this pattern or that pattern, if you're sort of a keen beginner or a seasoned sewer, it would be quite easy to make just a dress like that. Now, there is another challenge, and I can't remember what it's called. I'll put it in the details below, but it's another challenge on Instagram, which is about using different pieces of fabric that you may have left over from your stash. And this is where I go back to all these pieces here. So these are all my wovens. I do have a basket of, well, I've got 2 baskets of wovens and it's a box of some knits. And with that, you could certainly mix your knits. You could even have something, if you didn't want it a bit too flimsy, you could have a very lightweight ponte and your t-shirt. There's nothing to say you have to have the same weight fabric, and the heavier weight, as long as it's not too heavy, because you don't want it pulling down this, is a little bit better for keeping the skirt down. But I would say a very lightweight ponte would be nice with that. So that's that. Now, I have decided to do my own thing, and that's inspired by, I couldn't make up my mind, that's inspired by 2 ready-to-wears that I've got. I've had these the longest time. I bought them, both of them were Amazon purchases 5-6 years ago. It's when I was still working, and I was sewing, and I was doing all sorts of sewing from my patchwork and my embroidery, as well as a bit of dressmaking. But I didn't have the time. I love being retired, that's what's so good about being retired, to buy as many dresses as I would have liked, especially when it was coming up for going away. We've got a motorhome, so I need things that are easy to wash and dry, and it doesn't matter if they get crumpled, because I still like to, even though we go away camping, I still like to have something nice to wear, so I look halfway decent when we go to a nice village pub. Anyway, they're basically t-shirt based dresses. This one I love, and it's t-shirting. This is a cotton t-shirting. It looks quite see-through, but it's not when it's worn. But it has bands of linen, and it's got these nice inseam pockets, and then another band of t-shirting, and it's the same back and front. But the thing that's been done with this, I should have got some photos done. This has been ever so slightly taken out and then goes in, so it's a bit balloony. Love that frock. and I thought, I'm going to make this. I got lots of linen, and I've got some decent sized pieces of linen, and I even thought of colour blocking, because I've got some colours that will go together. But unfortunately I didn't have any knitted fabrics, whether that's viscose or cotton, in my stash that would go with any of this. I tend not to buy. I only get jerseys in the winter time when I'm tending to make sort of sweatery type tops, or sort of like the loop back fabric tops. I'm not a big maker of t-shirts and such. I tend to like wearing in the summer this sort of thing, a cotton lawn or a linen, because it's just light and floaty. And anyone, I've spoken about this before, anyone that's of a certain age knows that once you get into those flushy moments, and I've had my flushy moments for years and years and years, you just want something loose and baggy, where the old air can drift through. Anyway, that's that. So I have one more dress, and I've had this fabric for 2 years. As you can see, there's only a little bit left because I've actually made my dress, and I wanted to make it. Do I have to tell you how long it took me to do it? But I have this fabric, which has got I don't know if they're leopards or cheetahs. I think they're cheetahs, which is so pretty. And I've got a couple of animal printy pieces of fabric that I've not made up, but I'm not a big animal print wearer. But I love things like this because my mum was a huge lover of big cats, and I've got a couple of huge big cat soft toys that were hers. So if I see something that's pretty and nice and wearable like this, I buy it because it feels like my mum's with me. I know she's with me. I don't have to wear a frock to know she's with me, but it just brings her close. So I've had this viscose with elastane jersey, and it's a really nice quality. I can't remember where I got this from. So I've had it a couple of years. It was either somebody like Sew Me Sunshine or Fabric Godmother. They're the two people I tend to buy from. So I had that. I don't know why I'm tidying it up. There we go. And I wanted to make a frock out of that. And I bought that with the intention of possibly doing what I have done. And that's make this dress. Again, this is another Amazon purchase. It looks like a t-shirt frock, but if I stand up, you can see, if I get this in, just bear with, get this tucked in, because it's one of those ones I should have got a photo. My husband was out walking the dog, so I've got two, when I was getting ready, but it's got this business going on, so it looks sort of wrinkly from, waterfally from the side, but from the front, and then it goes slightly down into a slight balloony hem. Now this frock I absolutely love, and this is why, ladies, I say that, I mean, I'm a 14, 16. I'm more of a 16 on the top and a 14 on the bottom, but I do have as I've said before, a tummy, and I don't like to draw attention to it, but at the same time I don't want to hide under a big tent. And what's really lovely about this is because, if you can see, the seam comes down the front at an angle, and it's the same at the back, and then there's this, and it was so easy to do, this big huge sort of, it's a triangle but with a chopped off top, there's no pointy bit, and it is so flattering because it sits nicely on the shoulders and on the chest, so neat, providing I've got the the good bra on that's bringing up the boobies where they should be. So I look nice here, and then it sort of naturally, because of those seams, it naturally sort of falls away from the tummy, but it doesn't look like you're wearing anything big. And that's what I'm saying with some of those t-shirt dresses, if you just cut it just right, you can wear a slimming t-shirt dress and look really nice. So I went to clone this, and if you're if you're an adventurous beginner, or if you're somebody that's fairly experienced at sewing, cloning is really, really easy. There are YouTube videos, but the whole point of me talking about this is so that you can watch this and hopefully think, I've got a couple of days to make a frock, providing you've got the material. I needed a good 3 meters. It was the 60-inch wide, that 60-inch wide fabric, so I could fold it on both sides to get out my pieces. So something like this would take about 3 meters of wide fabric. But essentially I cloned a t-shirt, the top half, which is easy to do, where you have your paper and you fold it in half on top of your paper, your pattern paper. I'm just doing this roughly. And you do this for the back and the front. So I've got this folded, this is the back, and I'm folding it in on itself. And you would go down the straight line, trace around the neck, then your shoulders. And then what I do is I just feel where the seam is for the sleeve, and you do exactly the same for the front. So you turn the back in on itself. You have to tuck it in because you'll know, because as you know, the front neckline is always more dippy than the back. Shoulders again, go along the seam, and then you do the same for the sleeves. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. This is if you haven't got a t-shirt pattern. If you've got a t-shirt pattern, then that's really, really easy to do. If not, even if you don't have a t-shirt pattern and you don't want to download one, because this is where I think this is really frugal by not, I know that there was a discount for, I can't remember who they were now. There was a discount for, up until the end of March, I will put the details down below, for printing patterns, but so late in the day you won't be able to print a pattern and get it back. And I only have a laser printer. I did have a photo printer as well, but that's died and I need to replace that. But I had a laser printer purely for printing documents, and it's come in handy for the odd. I don't do a lot of PDF printing. It's baby stuff, because that's small things, and maybe something like a t-shirt type top I would consider printing, but sticking 60 odd pages together. And I use a Pritt Stick, which is the better way than doing sellotape, but that was still, and I would still, if I printed off a PDF and stuck it together for myself, not for the baby because they grow so quickly, I'd always print another one off, but for myself I'd trace it anyway. So I'm only using one lot of tracing paper. I'm not using my printer, I'm not using the ink, even though it's cheap because it's a laser printer. So that's even more frugal. And I wanted to show you this. I've already made mine, and I'm a very slow sewer, and the reason I'm a slow sewer is because I have a really bad condition in my spine. It's all fused together, so I can't sit down for long amounts of time. I can't bend over oh, my doggy's come to see me. Do you want to see my doggy? Oh, come here, you. Come here. Come and meet everybody. This is my baby. This is Sammy, and he's an English Cocker Spaniel, and he's 8 months old, and he's a terror. I've got another one downstairs, different colour, not related, but I've always had Cocker Spaniels, and I've always had more than one. and he's just come to find me in the sewing room. He's not quite trustworthy enough to stay in here with me. Once he's a little bit older, then he can have a dog bed underneath the table. Anyway, you say goodbye. Come on, down you get. Oh, there's goodbye. He's getting really, really heavy. Anyway, I was saying about time taking. I'm a really slow because of my back. But to draft the pattern, as in I didn't draft it, that's a misnomer. To clone the pattern, to cut out the pattern and to sew the pattern, it took me 2 days. I'm not talking 2 whole days. I sew, my husband's retired now, we've got into these little routines, but I come up to my sewing room at about 3 in the afternoon, and I'll do a couple of hours of sewing until 5. If the footy's on and it's not Arsenal, well, even if it is Arsenal, I can't be bothered unless it's a big match. So if there's footy on for a couple of hours in the evening, I might come up. I think I might have done this on a footy night as well. So in total, for me, drafting, cutting and sewing, it was no more than 6 hours, and for me that's slow. If you're a slow sewer, I would say for this, because it was a little bit more complicated, because it's a good job I'm a patch worker, because you've got a triangle of seams in this one, so it was just working out how to get those seams into that underarm sleeve seam. But for a bog standard t-shirt where you maybe just got the 2 pieces, oh, that was the other thing I was going to say. If you didn't want, where is it? If you didn't want just the plain skirt, I think that would be nice with just a couple of pleats, and then maybe, so you've got 2 single inverted pleats either side, and then just a slightly bigger one in the middle. I've got a couple of Ponte frocks, slightly different because they've got princess seams, but they've got that and that. Oh, nice way of hiding a tummy. That's another idea for you. But if you're a reasonably fast sewer, I reckon you could get this drafted, cut out and sewn within 4 hours. It depends. But as I say, it took me about 6 hours, and I'm a slow sewer. And I am a slow sewer. So that's that. And he's going to pull the iron off. There we go. See what I mean? Just about to pull this. If he's not done that once, he's done that a dozen times already. So that's my vlog, and I hope to see some of your makes on Instagram. Hopefully yesterday you caught Geet Petite, and tomorrow, following me, I believe she's the last one, I don't know her name, I'm sorry because she's new to me, Crystal Sew and Stuff will be posting on the 29th, and I believe she will be the last of the, I don't want to say official, but the original group of Frugal Frocks 2021 vloggers. Please join in, and please post your makes. There's lots of prizes to be won. The girls, Sam and Rowan, have done a really good job in getting sponsors for prizes. I've not done this for the prizes. I've done this because it was just a nice challenge to use up some fabric and find fabric again and find patterns again. And I hope that even though, if you've not seen any of the vlogs, and if you're late in the game coming to this, just be aware that you don't have to have lots and lots of time. If you're a decent seamstress, or well, you could be a man wearing a dress, you know, there's nothing to say you can't. But if you're, so I shouldn't say seamstress, I should just say sewist. If you're a decent sewist, you should be able to make something in plenty of time for the end of the challenge. And hopefully I'll see you soon with one of my own vlogs. Take care now. Bye.